There's a place in Japan, Okinawa, where people live into their 80s and 90s, with stable blood pressure, strong hearts, and barely any of the issues you've been dealing with. Now think about that. Same human body, same aging process. So why is it that you're taking medication, watching your diet, doing everything right, and still struggling? That's not bad luck. It's because the real cause of high blood pressure isn't what you've been told, and once you see it, everything changes. So don't scroll past this thinking it's just more of the same advice you've already heard. Because in the next few minutes, you're going to understand what's actually happening inside your body, and more importantly, what simple shift can start lowering your pressure faster than you expect, if you apply it the right way. And before we go further, take a second to like this video and subscribe, because what I'm about to share could genuinely change how you manage your health. Also, I'm curious, drop your age and where you're watching from in the comments. I read them, and it helps me tailor these videos better for you. Let me be direct with you. High blood pressure isn't just something you have. It's something your body is actively dealing with every single day. And most of the time, it doesn't feel dramatic. That's why people underestimate it. It shows up in small ways first. You feel more tired than you used to, even when you haven't done much. You might notice that your energy doesn't hold throughout the day like it once did. Simple things feel just a little heavier, a little slower. Then there are those moments you don't talk about. Standing up too quickly and needing a second to steady yourself. That slight pressure in your chest that comes and goes. Or just feeling off without a clear reason. None of it feels serious enough to panic. So you move on, you adjust, you ignore it. But here's the problem. Your body isn't ignoring it. What's happening internally is very different from how it feels on the surface. Your heart is pushing harder than it should, not because it's weak, but because it's working against resistance. Your blood vessels aren't responding the way they used to, and that changes everything. Think of it like this. If water flows through a flexible hose, it moves easily. But if that hose becomes stiff and narrow, the same amount of water creates more pressure. That's essentially what's happening inside you, and it doesn't stop there. Over time, that extra strain starts affecting how you feel overall. You get tired faster. Your focus isn't as sharp. Your body doesn't feel as steady or as responsive. And without realizing it, you start adjusting your behavior around it. You slow down a bit more. You avoid certain situations. You become more cautious than you used to be. That shift is subtle, but it matters. Because it's not just about health anymore. It's about how freely you can live your life. And here's the part that most people don't like to think about. If the underlying issue isn't addressed, this doesn't stay the same. It progresses. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. And by the time it becomes obvious, it's much harder to reverse. That's why just managing the numbers isn't enough, because numbers don't tell the full story. What matters is what's happening underneath those numbers. And once you start looking there instead, you stop guessing. You stop reacting. And you finally start understanding what needs to change. So let's clear something up in the simplest way possible. Your blood pressure is not just about how strong your heart is. It's about how easily blood can move through your body. And that depends largely on your blood vessels. Most people never think about this part. They focus on the heart, or diet, or medication. But your blood vessels are where the real story is. When you were younger, those vessels were flexible. They expanded easily when blood moved through them. There was very little resistance, so your heart didn't need to work hard to keep things moving. That's how the system is supposed to function. But over time, those vessels start to change. Not suddenly, and that's why it goes unnoticed. They gradually lose their flexibility. They become a bit stiffer, a bit narrower, less responsive. And once that happens, your heart has no choice but to compensate. It has to push harder to move the same amount of blood. That increase in force is what shows up as high blood pressure. So the issue isn't just that your pressure is high. The issue is that your system has become less efficient. Now here's where most people get misled. Medication can lower the pressure. It can reduce the force temporarily, but it doesn't restore flexibility in those blood vessels. It doesn't address why your heart needed to push harder in the first place. That's why, over time, the dosage often increases. because the underlying condition hasn't changed. And the same applies to things like salt restriction. Yes, it can help manage fluid balance, but it doesn't fix stiffness. So if you only focus on those areas, you're working around the problem, not solving it. And once you understand that, a lot of things start making sense. Why your readings fluctuate, why progress doesn't feel stable, why it feels like you're always adjusting instead of improving. Because you've been trying to control the outcome without improving the system that creates it. And that's the shift you need to make. Not just lowering pressure, but improving how your body handles it in the first place. Now that you understand what's actually going on, the next step is simple in theory, but it has to be done the right way. If your blood vessels have become stiff and less responsive over time, then the goal isn't just to lower your blood pressure. The goal is to improve how your body handles blood flow in the first place. That's a very different approach. And once you shift your focus there, your decisions start to change. Let's break it down into what actually matters. 1. Support your blood vessels, not just your heart. Your body has a built-in system that helps your blood vessels relax and expand when needed. One of the key players in that system is something called nitric oxide. You don't need to remember the name, but you need to understand what it does. It tells your blood vessels to open up, to relax, to allow blood to flow without resistance. That's exactly what your body needs right now. The issue is, as you get older, your body naturally produces less of it. So even if everything else stays the same, your system becomes less efficient. That's one of the hidden reasons blood pressure rises with age. Now here's the practical part. You can support this process through your daily habits, especially through what you eat. Certain foods help your body produce more of what it's lacking. Beets are one of the most effective. Leafy greens like spinach, arugula, and lettuce also play a role. Pomegranate has similar benefits. This isn't about following a strict diet. It's about adding support where your body needs it. You don't need to change everything overnight. That's where people fail. They try to do too much, too fast. Instead, start simple. Add one of these foods into your daily routine. Stay consistent. Let your body respond. That's how real change happens. 2. Move your body, but stop overthinking exercise. You've probably heard exercise more times than you can count. And for most people, that advice either feels overwhelming or unrealistic. So they either avoid it or try too hard for a short period and burn out. Neither approach works. What your body actually needs is consistent movement, not intensity, not exhaustion. Just regular activity that keeps your system engaged. Walking is one of the most effective things you can do. It's simple, it's safe, and it works. Even 20 to 30 minutes a day can make a noticeable difference over time. Because movement helps your blood vessels stay active. It keeps them responsive. It encourages circulation to stay efficient. You don't need a gym. You don't need complicated routines. What you need is consistency. And here's the part most people miss. You don't wait until you feel motivated. You do it because your body depends on it. Motivation comes later. 3. Reduce the pressure. You don't see stress as often talked about, but rarely understood properly. It's not just about feeling anxious or overwhelmed. It's about how your body stays in a constant state of tension without you realizing it. And when your body is in that state, your blood vessels tighten. Your system stays slightly on edge. That alone can raise your blood pressure over time, even if you don't feel stressed mentally. That's why this part matters. You need to give your body signals that it's safe to relax. And that doesn't require anything complicated. Slow, controlled breathing, even for a few minutes, can make a difference. Taking time to sit quietly without distractions helps more than you think. Improving your sleep, getting deeper, more consistent rest, has a direct effect on your system. This isn't about doing something extreme. It's about removing constant tension, because a relaxed system regulates itself better. 4. Rethink medication. Use it, don't rely on it alone. Let's be clear about this. Medication can help. It can lower your blood pressure. It can reduce immediate risk. And for many people, it's necessary. But it's not a complete solution, because it doesn't change the condition of your blood vessels. It manages the outcome, but not the cause. That's why relying on it alone often leads to adjustments over time. higher doses, additional medications, more management instead of improvement. But when you combine medication with the changes we just talked about, that's when things shift. Because now you're supporting your body from multiple angles. You're not just controlling pressure, you're improving how your system functions. And that's what leads to stability. Not quick fixes, not temporary results, but steady, reliable improvement. Now step back and look at this as a whole. This isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things consistently. You don't need 10 strategies. You need a few that actually matter, and the discipline to stick with them. Because your body responds to patterns, not one-time efforts. And when you give it the right signals, day after day, it adapts. It improves. And over time, the pressure you've been dealing with starts to come down, not just on a monitor, but in how you actually feel. Now imagine this for a moment. You wake up in the morning, and for once, your first thought isn't about your blood pressure. There's no quiet tension sitting in the background, no need to mentally prepare yourself before checking your numbers. You just start your day. And as the days go by, you begin to notice small changes. Your energy feels more steady. Not perfect, but more reliable. You're not hitting that same wall halfway through the day. You feel a bit more clear, a bit more present. Conversations feel easier. Your focus isn't drifting as much. Even your body feels different. More stable when you move. Less of that subtle uneasiness that you couldn't quite explain before. And the biggest shift? You stop constantly thinking about what might go wrong. You stop feeling like you're reacting to your health. Instead, you feel like you're managing it. There's a difference. It's not about being completely free of concern. That's not realistic. But it's about having a sense of control again. Knowing that what you're doing is actually working. That your body is responding. That you're not just maintaining a problem, you're improving it. And once that feeling starts to build, it changes how you carry yourself. You move with more confidence. You think with more clarity. You live with less hesitation. That's what real progress looks like. Not dramatic, but steady, noticeable, and real. Now here's the decision you have to make. You can keep doing what you've been doing, adjusting medications, watching numbers, hoping things stay under control. Or you can start addressing what's actually driving the problem. And it doesn't start next week. It starts today. Pick one step. Add one supportive food. Take a short walk. Slow your breathing for a few minutes. Simple actions, but done consistently. That's what changes your body over time. And if this made things clearer for you, do one more thing. Subscribe to this channel. Because I break down complex health problems in a way that actually makes sense, without confusion or fluff. You don't need more random advice. You need the right understanding, and I'll make sure you get it.